Elevated Greats Podcast.
Elevated Greats Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
Your host, Sethi.
And Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we? Alright, so welcome to Elevated Greats. I am your host, Sethi.
And I'm your co-host, stylist, and fashion consultant, Rashi Bindra.
And so welcome to our third show in self-isolation.
Yes.
You sort of have the same background, just a different angle, seems like.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, but mine's, okay, so because like the way the camera and my little like mini like office like setup is done here for all the calls and stuff, it faces my bookshelf, it's tilted towards my door, and then I'm avoiding to show the painting section that I haven't finished yet, so.
Right. So yeah, but it's because now there's a Blue Jay, either a bag or a jersey in your shot, which hasn't been there before. So that's new.
Oh yeah, because I moved some stuff from one angle to another, because I was making that style video of like how I style myself when I'm bored at home, and then from the other angle, you did see like way too much stuff, and I'm like, people are gonna wonder like what's wrong with this girl. So I moved that bag, and I completely forgot to move that bag back.
Yeah, how does she keep her own space?
Well, you know what, I will say that for someone who is organized in my mind, but chaotic sometimes, like in real life.
Yeah. My
room
is a hot mess.
Ever since with self-isolation.
No. Oh.
I'm so proud of myself though. Like my room's actually clean most of the time. Like my drawers now are super organized, and it's lasted. Like I just have like the basic, like, you know, vacuum and changing my like bed sheets obviously, and like the small things, but I keep like moving stuff around for like all this like recording stuff that we're doing, which I'm still adjusting to, but I'm so proud of myself.
But do you think part of that is because you're not using all parts of your wardrobe right now?
Oh, well, one huge part of it is because I'm not using my like entire wardrobe right now. But I think the other part of it also is that I have decluttered so much, and I can feel that in my room, right? Like now I don't like before I was like, I need extra shelves and I need extra this, and now I'm just like, nah, everything fits, everything's great, I have what I need, and I've given away stuff that I realized like I'm just holding on to. So it's a great feeling.
Yeah, because my own personal room space I found is a lot cleaner and decluttered as well, but it's primarily because I'm not using my whole wardrobe. I literally my wardrobe is itself, like in the way my closet set up is quite organized, like in terms of where certain things are and how I group things. But like I'm only essentially going to one section because it's stuff I'm primarily wearing at home for I would say 90%. And the odd time I'll put on something a little bit different, or put on like a pair of jeans, or just because I feel like today I want to spruce it up just a little bit and feel like I'm doing something versus sitting in some sort of home clothes.
Home clothes.
Yeah, home clothes of some sort. So primarily I'm not even touching anything in my closet outside of one area, and it's I look at the rest, I'm like, oh, I haven't been in this part of the closet for a month.
See, I was doing that for a while too. Like I was like literally like, a basic t-shirt and like a sweater on top. And I think even when we did our first Zoom social distancing podcast, like I was sitting on my bed, and in the back you could see my like, vision board, and I had like this big sweater, and I was like not dressed up at all. And then as I started, as I started like doing a little bit more work and stuff, I was like, okay, I need to just, and I was still feeling very like a little bit lazy, or I felt I wasn't pushing myself enough, or I just felt like I'm like, okay, I can go back. Like I was napping a lot. And then I cut my bangs, and I liked how I looked, so I started straightening my hair more often than I should, like, being at home. And now every time I have a call, or like those days where I have like, calls back and forth, like whether it's personal or like professional, I'm like, my face is done up a little bit, I have a cute top, I have some jewelry on, and I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah, you want to, it gives you a reason to step out of the home comfort and do something a little bit different, dress like you're actually going to a meeting or going to meet a friend or whatever the case.
I think what it also does is that it does boost your self-esteem a little bit, because and it's not to say that, you know, if you're not doing this, like, you have self-esteem issues. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying, given the fact that it's been about a month and a half, no, like a little bit over a month, that now not only are we all in self-isolation or like social distancing, but we're also adjusting to the fact that, you know, if we have, like, I mean, if you want to be in touch with your friends, it's over video. If you know, are seeing someone, your date nights are what, like, you have your, you know, food in front of you and they're in front of them. Like, again, it's all video. So that intimacy level is not always there.
Sure.
You know, when you're talking to clients and work and people as well, like, I find that when you present yourself the way you would be presenting yourself if you were actually leaving your house, what happens is that you feel that little spark of like energy and excitement, and that comes across when you're talking to someone, when you're even like dealing with clients, and you make them excited about stuff, because we have so much stress and worry. Even if we say that, okay, this is our situation, we have accepted it. Great, that's step one out of a huge, you know, psychological shift that's happening in your mind.
That's just putting your foot on the ladder.
Yeah, and also the huge like emotional shift. I mean, even I have, you know, days sometimes where I'm like, holy crap, like, what the fuck's just going on? And then there are days I'm like, okay, I got this. And then there are days like today where I was like, I like had a couple of things, but I spent most of my day like sketching and working out and meditating in the sun. And I was like, and I know my week is crazy, but I was like, this is what
But I think you have to sort of do that. You gotta create variation in your day so it doesn't have the monotony, right? Like it makes you feel like things are different and you're accomplishing something. And part of accomplishing is just actually taking a day to yourself and doing nothing, so that you can be productive for the rest of the week.
And I think also what happens is that, and this depends on, you know, what personality you are, but I like being alone most of the time. I like not talking to people. I know that, and people find that strange, so they think because I'm in events, I'm a more of a social person, but we all know I'm a little bit more of a to myself, introverted type person. And what the danger can happen, kind of like the danger is that I mean, like someone like me, I actually don't talk to a lot of my friends, not because I don't want to, but because I'm so used to like being in my space, in my bubble. So most of my calls are mostly professional calls. But when it does become a personal phone call or a personal chat, or sometimes when I like WhatsApp you, and I'm sure that you can sense the change in my like energy as well. It's usually because like I took that time to add some color in my day and what I'm wearing, or even in my room, or like in my space. Like if I know like I'm sitting, sorry, and I almost like dropped my tablet. I think that would be very interesting. But like, for example, like even now I have this like setup that I was like on something before. I have my laptop on one thing, I have my tablet on another, and just to make it fun, I have these boxes that I used at an event, and they're like cubes with like dices, like those dice boxes. I have that. I have like this like color stuff around me, and I'm like, and I bought candles today that were like different scents and different and colors, and I'm like, yeah, this is my space. This is like, it feels better, right? So these things make such a huge difference in stuff you're doing.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's, you know, we had decided our topic was going to be today's is just sort of dressing the part for success while you're at home, while you're working at home, whatever it is that you do, just so you can, you know, to help change it up, and also, you know, part of it is to help lift your own mood, so you're not sitting there thinking that you're just in, you know, sort of pajama life forever, right? With never-ending like home clothes. You know, I think well, like even I am, like, I think we're all a bit guilty of it, and we do it just because it's easy, and also comfortable. But you know, like you said, you sort of taken on this approach where, you know, you're stepping away from that a little bit, as you just mentioned. So talk about that a little bit more in terms of what types of things you've been doing just from a wardrobe standpoint, to help change your day and to help lift sort of your spirits and to become more productive?
So from a wardrobe and a little bit of self-care, and this by the way also applies to people who have kids and stuff, because I actually had a master class yesterday, I think it was, on a very similar conversation, and a lot of the questions we got, but yeah, but we have kids and they work, and we're working from home, and that stress level was happening as well. And one of the things that came up is how do you manage all that stuff, right? Like, how do you manage your own emotions when it comes to that? And again, it all goes back to how you present yourself, even when you're at home, because that is self-expression. That's one very non-verbal way of expressing yourself, but it's also mentally, emotionally, and psychologically uplifting. So one of the things that I started doing was like I changed my hair. Like I trimmed my own bangs. I mean, there are ways to do it on at home. I know how to trim my own hair now if I want to. So that's something I'll probably do this week, because I'm like, I still have to take care of myself. And when and when you do changes or small things to keep yourself groomed and feeling good, because like I mean, like we all know, when we all go get a haircut, right, we all feel like good about ourselves. We're like, okay, yeah, like I got this, I feel amazing, like I feel hot, whatever. So that same feeling comes back. The only difference is that you're not at a salon, you're in your bathroom essentially and you're doing it. That does boost yourself up like a bit. I watch movies, like when I do take out the time to watch movies or read magazines that inspire me, I get it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you know what, I have something like that in my closet, or I love that makeup or whatever it is, and I do it. I'm like, I'm at home. It's not about what other people are looking at or about the Instagram. It's just really first about myself. So I started doing that. If I want to wear like a nice color, if I want to just like a nice shirt, or even a simple basic t-shirt I'd put on, and instead of joggers. And I remember somebody made a comment on my Facebook picture when I did my bangs and posted up that, oh, you're like dressing up during COVID, like shouldn't you be in like your like sweatpants? And I'm like, dude, I don't do sweatpants or PJs for that long, like that's just not me. But I was saying comments like that, and I yeah, I would wear jeans. I'd wear, or worst case, I'd wear like my workout leggings with a nice top, because I know like during the day I break down my workouts where I'm doing something in the morning, then I'll do something in the evening, I might do something like at night. And you just feel good, and you just have this great burst of energy. And then I'm just mindful of what colors I wear, because I know like when I have calls and stuff, I don't want to come off as aggressive, because again, what you wear projects on another person how they receive you. That's the first thing, right?
So you were talking about the colors, and we were talking about that a little bit earlier too. Like what colors, how do colors play a factor in sort of your mindset and your mood and the change that you feel comes through the various colors?
See, so colors do have an energy that's associated with it, and like to like put it simply, when you, okay, let's say if you saw a girl in a restaurant or in a club or in a different setup than home, and she's wearing like red, for example, she's easily noticeable. And at that moment, at that setup, that red, like right, your eyes turn to her, one, because it's like a passionate, bright, fiery color. Two, it's showing that, oh my god, this girl's confident, she's the only one wearing red here, like, you know what I mean, like for example. And that sparks a psychological response in your brain. That's also sparked a psychological response in her as a person as she's wearing it. I guarantee you, if that same girl was during the day in sweatpants with no makeup on and walking around, you would have a very different vibe. Not to say that she's not a confident person as a whole, but I'm just saying that when you first were to like meet her, it would be very, very different.
Yeah.
Right. So certain colors, whether they're, I mean, and like warm colors have a certain approach, whether like yellow, for example. Why, when you see someone yellow, you feel like, who's wearing like, like a bright yellow top or something, you're just like you feel energy from that person. You're just like, okay, there's like sunshine happening in here. This person's so happy,
Mm-hmm.
for example, right? It, even without you wanting to try, it affects you. So what I started doing was I'd wear certain colors when I knew what type of calls and day I had, because I knew like who I was speaking to.
So talk about like so as you're getting into the colors, what colors from your research or your understanding, like what do the different colors represent? More the main colors that people would wear. Like I'm not, we're not getting into crazy patterns or anything.
Yeah,
Essentially, but just
colors.
Yeah, like colors. Like so when you're like, what different colors do you think about or use, and what do they represent to you, and what effect do they have on your mood?
So for example, like today for our call, and because I also had a call earlier, I'm wearing this like lilac top. Essentially, it's a cool color, but it is from the color, deep or like royal purple. Purple
Mm-hmm.
represents being creative. It represents wealth. It represents royalty, right? Like that's why even kings and queens, back in years, like always had purple as a staple in their royal wardrobe. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously,
But would it make a difference? Because usually when you see that, it's a lot of a deep dark purple versus like the lilac that
yeah, there's a huge difference, because right now like if I wore my deep bright purple
not bright,
sweatshirt.
not bright.
Huh?
I think more like an eggplant, like a darker purple.
Yeah, so I'm getting to that. So you would still have a different reaction from like a deeper purple, because that's still very like, it's like a quiet power type of vibe that you will get, versus what I'm
Mm-hmm.
wearing right now. That's still like, okay, it gives you a sense of like calmness and stillness. Like it's more soft. It's more like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's more, and when I say the word romantic, I
Welcoming,
don't mean like it's
welcoming,
just,
approachable.
yes, but it's also just more like you're calm, you're like, it's more like a springy, fresh vibe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how the same color from a cooler tone, which is a lighter shade, will have that effect. If I were to wear like a deep dark purple top right now, it would be more like, and given again, and this is where the sensitivity part, comes into play, it could come off as a bit aggressive for someone. It could come off
Mm-hmm.
as, oh, this person's, um, uh, trying to, just have a different attitude about things and stuff like that. So I think what happens now, and uh, when you understand your basic colors, what works for you, and not only what works for you, but what works for the purpose of your meetings and your conversations right now, it does make a big difference. So like that's what, like, let's say purple does. Green, for example, most wellness people right now, you'll always have like there's green in there, like branding, some, like most of the time there's hints of green for foods
Mm-hmm.
as well, right? There's always green involved. But just green on its own, again, it's a very grounding color, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does give you energy because it comes from yellow, but it's still a very grounding color. So if you have a conversation, or you're about to have a conversation with someone who can get like, who's more in the in between world of sometimes being overly energized and sometimes being like very low,
Mm-hmm.
green's like as a receptive color, green's a great color for you to wear for that person, so they feel a
Mm-hmm.
bit more like, okay, grounded, calm, I can have a relaxed conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Does it matter on the type of green, or like what this, because
Yeah.
obviously there's a scale between the different shades.
um Lighter colors right now are more calming and soothing for everybody, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
you as a person who's wearing it, or your client, for example. So I personally like recommend, unless you know for a fact like it's like a personal video call with your friends and
Sure.
they're in a different mindset,
Yes.
I will
But even then,
don't.
I think it has an impact, right? Because if your
Yeah.
personality and your mood is pointing towards a specific direction, and you're wearing a color that suits that, it kind of just exudes that mood in that moment. Versus, if you're sort of in that realm of like a lilac or like a green, and that's
Mhm.
where your personality is, but you come out wearing a black hoodie with the hood on, like, you're sending two different messages, I guess. So even within your friends, I think it makes a difference. And some people, like, a lot of my work calls have not been video, but just even on the weekends, if I'm talking to friends on video call,
Mhm.
like people are spending a little bit of time and just, they know they're going to be seeing like 5, 6, whatever, 8, 9 friends or whatever over video. So they're not like dressing up like, as if they're going out, but they are putting a little bit of effort into looking presentable,
Yeah.
to and playing with a little bit of colors. And it's kind of nice. It's very different than the first couple of weeks, because those first couple of weeks everyone was kind of like, oh, we don't know how long this is going to last, and they're in almost like quasi staycation mode. But now that it's becoming more of a reality, and your way of spending time with other family and friends is really through video chats, like a lot, people have started to kind of spend a little bit more time, and it may not be like makeup, or their hair may be not like not combed to go out, but I mean you could tell it's a little bit more like versus like just like a messy bun, and people doing ponytails, or like they're the colors are a little bit more with their outfits. They're not wearing necessarily like a raggedy ripped t-shirt. It is still a t-shirt, but it's maybe one they would have worn out had they been somewhere, or they're with some friends or something. And they're adding colors to it.
And I'm pretty sure when you're having those calls with them, even that energy with your group of friends now is a lot more different than what it was when you guys may have been having those calls like 2 weeks ago even.
I think it depends. Like I think the first couple of weeks is a little bit different, because it's like, okay, I need to find something to do, but now there's almost a sense of frustration kicking in, and I think that's that's leading the charge for people to try different things with their wardrobe. It's like, I'm just frustrated of doing the same thing over and over, week in and week out. Like, I'm not leaving my house. It's whoever they're in their condo or their basement or whatever the case, and it's more like, how can I change this up a little bit so that I'm not feeling as blasé on the weekend, like, and I feel like I am doing something that's breaking up my week. And I think like people have to do it on the weekend, but they have to also do it in the day. Like, I make it a point outside of today, but I make it a point to work out every day after work, right? And then so now, like, what's happened in my routine is my routine's actually changed a little bit. I used to shower before I go to work. Now I don't. I shower after my workout. Like, then I would shower in the morning, go to work out, come back home, shower again. So now I'm just kind of doing it once in the day, but I'm doing it later in the evening. But it feels like a break or a reset in my day. Like, it doesn't make the day so long and feel like I'm just sitting in one spot, or in my house the whole time. Like, just by working out and then changing my outfit after I work out. Like, so I have my outfit that I'm wearing in the day, then I'll change it to gym clothes to work out, and then I'll change it into another outfit for the evening. You know what I mean? So it's like that break alone is also making the days seem like I'm doing something, or I'm accomplishing something, and it doesn't seem as mundane in the day. And then change my workouts in between, so it's not the exact same workout, so it doesn't always feel like the exact same every day. And even the like a lot of it is, like I said, I've been going to one part of my closet, and they are usually just like t-shirts or some sort of home pants or some sort of shorts or whatever the case. Sometimes on the occasion on the weekend, like obviously I'll mix it up a little bit and throw on something a little bit different. But again, it's to break it from the week, so it doesn't feel like my weekend clothes are the same as my week clothes, right? So I think you talked a little bit more about the color aspect of it and having colors, and I think that we should spend a little more time about talking about the different colors and what they like. You can maybe go through a few more about what they how they impact you and what mood they put you in. But just even breaking your day, because like I was talking to some friends and they're like, like, I'm not gonna say names or anything, but like I haven't showered in 3 days, and I'm like, well, firstly, that's disgusting. Secondly, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't want to know what you have or haven't changed in your clothes over those 3 days. So please make sure you change. But it's not to say that it doesn't happen more often than not. Like, I think people get sort of like, well, I don't have to go out, so what's the purpose, right? Like, I'm gonna like, they're being lazy almost. It's like their main part of their day is like, I'm gonna go through my work and then I'm gonna cook, not paying attention to the difference that they put in their own mood if they change, or at the very least shower. Like, if they actually change and try something different with their wardrobe. Like,
go on.
So that was it. Like, I think, from my perspective, like I do make it a routine to make sure I change twice a day, right? And then that's just part of, regardless of whether I'm going into something that's a bit more dressy or a bit more like homely, even if it's going from one style of home clothes to another style of home clothes, it still feels like, okay, like, this is like, quote unquote, my new work day clothes, and these are my evening clothes, even though they're not that different from each other,
So, I mean, what I would also really, really add is, and the reason I'm saying this, because this is part of the consult work that I started, that I been doing now slowly, is how you present yourself is also part of your self-care routine.
Yes.
And even like breaking down how you do your day and the things you do in your day is so vital, because here's the thing: as much as we are in this situation, this is also the time to try different things or mix it up, whether it is changing the furniture in your bedroom, you know what I mean, just like moving things around, for example, whether it's like adding more pictures or different colors in your space, in your living space even, or even like for example, it was really nice out today at some point. So I went in my backyard, and my mom was teasing me about this, but I sat down on the grass and I had the sun on my face.
And you had popcorn.
And well, I had popcorn too, but
yeah, I got the picture. It was hilarious.
Yeah, so I like had my bowl of popcorn. So I was like, and I had like my like journal, and then I had this new book that I got as well. And I was like, while I was eating, I was like reading that book. But then afterwards, I did a meditation out in the sun, and it was such a different feeling. And just even, and I'm not saying go meditate in the sun for those who don't want to, do that, or if it doesn't speak to you, that's also fine. But just that idea of leaving my room, leaving my like living space, sitting outside, and sitting on the grass itself. And again, it goes back to the color green and how grounding it is, right? So again, that all plays into everything. The fact that it is part of the earth.
Well, in the sun, the vitamin D makes a big difference too.
Yeah, and even though in my area it was still a little bit chilly, so I had my jacket on essentially, and I was like wrapped around and sitting in the sun. But at the same time, though, it was so energizing. It was so energizing because you have the sun on your face, your eyes are closed, you're taking a break from the world, and you're taking a break from what's going on in your house, right? And then you step back in. That's a reset right there, and that is part of self-care. So. And I know we have a break coming up soon, but now if you were to incorporate that, and if you were to change how you dress, I guarantee you, I actually guarantee this, that you would have a lot more energy in what you're doing, but your mindset and your outlook of what's going on will shift a little bit, and that just like helps in every single thing.
Okay, so let's we got to take the break.
Yeah.
And then let's come back and let's go over some of those different colors that you're talking about and the impact that they have on your mood and how they change your energies. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey guys, we're taking a quick break just to remind you where you can find our podcast online.
You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Tunes.
Apple Music. Or you know it, you call it Apple Tunes.
Whatever.
Right. You can also find us on TuneIn, on Google Play, and of course Instagram when we do it the first Tuesday of every month.
And Facebook here and there.
Here and there.
Here and there.
So thanks for tuning in, and now back to our podcast. And welcome back.
Yeah, we're back.
So we were going to get into that, just let's explore some of the colors a little bit more and the impact those colors can have on your mood. So we talked about lilacs and the shades within the purples. We talked about the greens. And let's just go some of them. We don't have to go into, some of the obscure colors, but just some of the more, like we talked about reds a little bit and the effect that can have on you. Like the blues, pinks, let's look at the primary colors and sort of talk about those and the impact and the shades. I mean, obviously, we can scale, the lighter ones are a bit more calming, the darker ones are a little bit more aggressive, but then there's also like the maroons and that sort of thing, which are also soft and warm. So let's talk about that a little bit and the different impact of those different colors.
And even like the different shades of what you wear or what you have. I mean, just to touch on this really, really quickly, if you know what season you are, so in fashion and style and personal style, we always hear this, oh, you are spring, you're an autumn, you're a winter, you're a summer. Essentially that is how what your coloring is, what sort of colors suit you. On a high level, there's 4 seasons, but there's actually a 12 color season breakdown, because we have different shades of colors that suit us. Our undertones are very different. all those things make a huge difference. So when you go into your closet and you're like, oh, I heard this podcast, and because I want to feel like calm and like serene today, I'm going to wear blue, and it happens to be a very light blue that does not suit you, you're not gonna want to wear that color. Even though you are listening to a podcast saying that blues, is more of a calming color. Yes, it's also a color that could, when people are depressed a little bit, they also tend to turn to blue, like different shades of blue.
Yes.
But right.
Or if they're having a baby, or if they're having a baby boy.
Okay, I did not get into that part of it, but sure.
I'm just saying. That's another reason people use blue.
Okay. Baby boy. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But so what I would actually recommend, and again, now's the time to do this, guys, is find out what season you are. And a very simple trick.
How do they do that?
Yeah, a very simple trick to do that is your undertone tells you what season you are. So let's say, like, if I'm, for example, like a olive tanny type of color, like my face. But if I look at my wrist, and minus the tattoo on my wrist, if I see the color of my veins on my wrist, or for some people it's more obvious on their hands or on their feet, if you have greenish veins, you have a warm undertone. If you have bluish veins, you have a cool undertone. So you could be a very light skin.
What if you can't see your veins right now? Mine are greenish.
Yes, you have a warm undertone. There you go.
Okay.
But okay, so actually you and I are very perfect examples of how our seasons are like different. I am an autumn because of just I like my skin color is a bit more darker than yours. You're a bit more fairer than me, even though I have like dark hair and everything. Because of this and my undertone, I'm an autumn. So that's why certain bright colors and dark colors suit me very easily. It just goes with my coloring. But I have to still stick with warm colors. So for example, there's certain reds I can't wear because it'll just be like those too loud and it just doesn't suit me type of reds. I won't be able to wear them because they have most likely like a bluish light. They have like a, what do you call it, like a cool undertone into it, right? You're most likely going to be I would say you're like a spring or a summer. I don't think you're a winter. Yeah, you're not that fair for a winter. So you're most likely a spring. And then if you're a spring, you have certain different colors that look really, really good on you, that you can carry off. But now in spring, you probably fall under like a warm spring, or like a medium warm spring type of thing, right? So then that's the whole thing.
So how does someone figure this out? I mean, you know a little bit about it, so you can guide, but if someone doesn't have that understanding, how do they figure out what their color or season or whatever is?
Oh, well, that's what I do when I consult. So I'm one resource to figure it out.
Okay. So there you go. So they can call you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Or you can go on Google, but I mean, there's so much out there, so you would have to have a bit of knowledge of color and yourself and understanding. And as stylists, that's what you and I both do as well, except I do a little bit more color, you do more like this looks good on you, this doesn't, and go rock and you boost them, right? So just reach out to us.
So let's talk about some of it. So we talked about it from a season standpoint, so I think it's important for people to take a look at that and understand that. I'm going to do a little more research on mine because I didn't know the stuff that you were talking about too, but okay, so now you have to understand your main colors.
It's you should
to understand your energy. But let's talk about the colors that we were referring to. So blues, I mean, obviously can have both good and bad, positive and negative sort of connotations to it. So when do you recommend someone be wearing a blue?
If you're dealing with clients who have the tendency to be overly emotional, easily stressed out, sometimes in panic mode, I would recommend wearing blue. I would not wear I wouldn't do those super light baby blues. I actually wouldn't do that. I would do a couple of shades darker, not a super bright blue either, but just like a little above the super light baby blue for a boy, as you said that. I would actually wear that, because what happens is that the message that you're giving is that this is a safe space. They can talk to you, but it also just makes them feel a bit calm and like, okay, I don't need to get aggressive with this person. I don't need to talk loudly. I don't need to show my stress. I mean, it automatically calms them down. If we step into the oranges now, which is more of a warmer color, you'll notice like when you see, colors that are orange, or like when you eat an orange, for example, just even going to the fruit, right? There's a very different like burst of energy and feeling like renewed, and all of that plays into your and just touching on this very, very briefly, the color orange actually plays on your emotional energies.
Okay.
So and when I say your emotional energies, I'm not talking about like your moods. I'm just talking about how you manage and regulate your like emotions. The color orange actually is known and shown to play a huge role in that. So when you hear about like people who wear orange, for example, and they walk in a room, there's just like this burst of like, not only their presence, but it's a mix of confidence, mix of energy, mix of like, I'm here but not being overly bored about it. So their like emotions are a bit more controlled. But if you were to take the color like yellow, for example, it's right away like a very happy color. Like there's no like, downside to wearing the color yellow. It's just like whether you wear like a deeper yellow or like a cooling, yellow, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm joyful, this is my sunflower, and like that energy like woo, all over the place.
You think about this, you think about the sun when you think about the color yellow, right?
Yeah, so like that's theirs. But if the same person wore orange, there's a bit of balance in it. And the reason also being is that orange comes from red and yellow, right?
Right.
So
what about like grays and blacks and sorry, the grays and blacks specifically, before we get into, I had a couple others in my mind, but we'll go to them afterwards.
And I love how you like pointing at yourself too, like,
oh yeah, because I'm wearing gray and I'm wearing black. I'm also wearing maroon, so
dear God. Well, I mean, gray is that like mix, like gray is a very mixed emotion, because it's part of black, and black can be both, a positive color or a negative color, because black can be like posh and formal and elegant and deep, but sometimes it can also be very closed, dark, and like and like uninviting.
Right.
So in a time like this, for example, it's I mean, let's again go back to maybe 2 weeks ago or even a week ago, when things were still a little bit unsettled. It was you subconsciously would reach for black. I mean, I was doing that a lot too. Like I think, like I said, our first call, for example, I had a black t-shirt and a gray sweater on me, because I'm like, want to still feel secure and like comfortable. If you take the opposite of the spectrum, white, for example, that's very pure, that's very spiritual, that's very like neutral.
I was gonna mix white and white was the other color I was thinking about, but I walked away from it because I figured that needs its own little section.
But like white itself, I mean, yes, in different cultures and religions, all colors have different,
meanings. Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're keeping it outside of the religious aspect.
But I just wanted to just like make sure that all our listeners who are hearing it, like, we're not unaware of it, but the focus is just in terms of clothes and moods, of course. Yes. But like if you wear like white, for example, even now it's like an open invitation to feel peaceful. And sometimes when you feel pure, or like when you feel like you've like reset and recentered, white's a color you like reach to most of the time, right? And then gray just gives you that like mix between the two. So I'm not saying gray is not a good color to wear, but sometimes gray can again bring your energy down, because there's like, where's the spark in it?
Well, right? It depends, right? Like when I think of from a corporate standpoint, like majority of men's suits are blues and grays. That when you go to anywhere in sort of a corporate environment.
Yeah.
And I think obviously there's a reason. I'm not talking about like powder blue. I'm talking about the navies and the royals and like the warmer blues, and the grays do range. They range from sort of light, probably to as light as this top, to like the darker charcoal kind of grays, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them are seasonal, so you're not going to necessarily wear like a light one in the winter. It's more of a summer type of color. But you find most men's suits that they wear from a corporate perspective are within the realm of blues and grays, and I think that there's a reason for that. So I wanted to ask you so you can touch on that a little bit, just as we're talking about blues and grays.
So I know exactly what type of blues you're like talking about, and that's, you know, in its own a quiet sense of power and a quiet sense of like strength. And don't forget that deep blue is also stemming from black, right? Like that deep blue is stemming from
it's not
black.
as formal as the black, but it still has a formal feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's same thing goes for gray. Like if you go into the gray spectrum, there are some grays that when a person walks in, like, oh, he's here, he's there, or she's there, you know what I mean? But then when you wear like and usually when you wear a more lighter shade of gray, there's somehow a more casual aspect to that. Like when you, like for example, like even like us right now in our conversation, your gray is not a very dark gray, and for like those who are listening, it's more of a lighter gray. So that's a little bit like me as a person, if I didn't know you, I'd be like, oh, he's a little casual for our call today, okay, you know what I mean? Like but that's just right away. Like if I didn't know you, that'll be the first thing would come to my mind. And unfortunately, as much as we're all about knowing the person, not judging a book by its cover as humans, like I said, what you wear is your self-expression, and we right away, even subconsciously, we do judge.
You make an assessment right away. So so we covered some of those main colors like blues, grays, blacks. Went into red a little bit in the beginning, greens and within the shades of greens, purples in the shades of purple. Is there any other color that you find is important to talk about just from the way it impacts someone's mood?
I would honestly, okay, so this is the same conversation I had recently with somebody else who asked me the same question. I would, like, for now, especially when you're dealing with work people and even some of your friends, again, everybody's sensitivity levels are very, very different.
Yes, for sure.
And, you know, not everybody is going to use this time to go do a side hustle and create stuff. They might just still want to, you know, be in this moment, and that's totally fine too. Knowing who the person that you're having a call with or talking to or seeing, I would, keeping that in mind, just in general, I would stay away from very bright colors. Even now, I would max do like a if you know your friends are in a somewhat good good space, and when I say good space, it's like better from like, you know, 2-3 weeks or whatever. And if you feel like it's appropriate, then if you know, don't wear like a bright red, but like wear like a muted red or like a deep, you know,
a maroon.
That's fine. Yeah, and you're maroon, which your pants are maroon, for example. But like if you're dealing with clients, let's say you're in the wellness, you know, industry, or you're in the nutritionist industry, and you know, like you have clients who might be overly, you know, anxious right now. Wear like your greens and blues, but again, keep them a little bit light. Or even like if you're just having a conversation, like sometimes my like styling consults, I'm wearing like whites, I'm wearing like lilacs, I'm wearing like, you know, something peaches and pinks, and just very pale colors. What it does, it softens you as a person,
right? So
you come across as, you know, very soft and very like open. And also we are in spring, so what happens is that it gives the other person that perspective that, okay, there is a little bit of like, you know, ray of hope, because it's not like this dark brooding color type thing. It's like, okay, we are living life right now as is, and everything's gonna be fine, right? So yeah.
No, which is, and I think that's just it. I think the person that you're sitting with or speaking with, or who you're on the video conference call with, like, I think setting that mood with them right up front, even if they know you, like know your personality, it makes it sets the tone for the call, because you're going to come across in a specific way based on the colors that you're choosing to wear for that call or whatever the case.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I mean, do your hair, like brush it, you know what I mean, stuff like that. Like do some self-care practices. Like Yes,
Put on
like,
put
okay,
on
so
put on
like,
a hat. Just put on a hat.
no, please do not listen to that. Okay, so I will give a very, very relevant example. So the way my day was going on today, for like half the day, I was still in my PJs. I actually was like in my mixed match, like, cannot believe she like wears these PJs type of thing, and my hair is a mess. And I will say I did notice myself wanting to just like take it easy today and
Yes.
not really work and try and sketch and be on my bed and la di da, you know what I mean, type of
It
thing.
sets the tone for your own mood.
Right. And then when I knew I had some stuff in the evening, so I changed my PJ bottoms to my workout bottoms, and then I worked out, and then I was like, holy shit, I have these calls. So I went and I, changed, and I got ready. And even during my like previous call, I was like so like, you know what I mean? Like I was like that energy just came back
It
up, and
changes it. Yeah.
it really, really makes a huge difference. And it's not just like, and I don't want the takeaway from this podcast to be, okay, I'm gonna go wear like a nice color and like, brush my hair and I'm good, and I'm gonna feel happy.
Right.
That's obviously part of it, but I mean, self-care is huge.
Right.
Self-compassion is even bigger. If you
Yeah.
can marry the two,
Yeah.
I think you have a very good recipe for surviving and for like success in this unfortunate times that we are, and it will just go by a lot faster, and you won't feel as pressured, you know
Of
what I mean,
course.
as we are feeling right now. It will really, really set the tone for a lot of things.
And we talked about a lot of that for those that haven't heard in our episode 37, so 2 episodes ago. We went quite deep into self-care, self-compassion, and just managing both internally through this, and your own like managing your own personality and your own mindset through this.
And I will point out, just because in case people missed it, if you're the type of person who is an introvert and like to be by themselves or whatever, push yourself to at least message one friend a day. And it doesn't have to be about work. It doesn't have to be about like, you know what I mean? It could be like the most random things. And that's going to help you. And if you are an extrovert, just be mindful that sometimes you can come across as a little bit too much to people who are still dealing with it, but just be open for them to come to you, because they will come to you.
Yeah, it's just about creating a welcoming environment.
And that changes so much, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rashi, for sharing all the variations on colors and the impact they have on us. I think it was an important conversation. We're talking about what sort of topics we can cover, and keeping it related still to fashion. But I think this was super important because as much as it's about fashion, it's also about going back to self-care and self-awareness. But another aspect of that, and how to look out for yourself, especially right now, with so much going on around us. We don't even realize half of it, how we're even processing it.
And once you start doing these small things, guys, I guarantee you will start seeing a shift. It doesn't have to be a huge shift. No one's asking you to do like a is it 180 or 360? I keep getting that confused.
180.
180.
360 means you just go back and you're doing the exact same
yeah,
thing.
right. Like the 180.
People use it all the time, and it's just funny because it just doesn't make sense.
And I always get confused.
Yeah.
But even that tiny shift that happens in your mindset, which will affect your day, you will feel so much better and do so much better too in anything that you're doing, whether it's with your kids, whether you're cooking, whether just like even what you watch, you'll start being like, I actually want to watch this, and then something will spark and you'll feel, you know what I mean, good about everything, which you have to at some point, right?
Just watch Big Bang Theory all the time. You'll be fine.
Okay then.
Yeah.
No.
So on that note, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. We are, I dropped my headset. We are working on a couple of guests, so we'll be introducing them through our Zoom conversations soon. Just organizing that right now, but we're looking forward to some special guests that are going to be helping us to continue these conversations about coping through things at home and from different perspectives. So we'll get into that shortly, and we thank you for tuning in every week and listening.
And see you guys next week.
Bye. Peace out.
Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
yes, hit that little red, button thingy that's over there, and hit subscribe, and keep following us for a lot more cool, fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.